last lecture, we have started with the methods of microencapsulation. Let us move towards the next method, that is the supercritical carbon dioxide assisted microencapsulation. So a supercritical fluid is any substance at a temperature and pressure above its critical point where distinct liquid and gas phases do not exist. It can effuse through the solid like a gas and dissolve materials like a liquid. In addition, close to the critical point, small changes in the pressure or temperature result in large changes in the density, allowing many properties of supercritical fluid to be fine-tuned. The fluid will also be called the supercritical even if its temperature is below critical point. So the supercritical fluid are highly compressed gases that possesses the several advantages properties of both liquids as well as the gases. Generally, we are using the supercritical carbon dioxide, then the alkanes and the nitrous oxide. If there is a small change in the temperature or pressure causes the large change in the density of the supercritical fluid near the critical point. So supercritical carbon dioxide, it is widely used for its low critical temperature value. In addition to its non-toxicity, then it is a non-inflammable and it is also readily available. It is highly pure and cost effective. So generally, we are using the supercritical carbon dioxide for the preparation of micro particles or the microcapsules. So supercritical fluid is any substance at a temperature and a pressure above its critical point where distinct liquid and gas phases do not exist. So the most widely used methods are the rapid expansion of a supercritical solution, that is a RESS, then gas anti-solvent method, then particles from gas saturated solution, then the supercritical fluid extraction of emulsions and supercritical spray drying, that is a RESS, gas, PGSS, SFEE and SSD. These are the 5 methods which are available with us to prepare the microcapsules or the microparticles or the nanoparticles. Generally, this method is widely used to prepare the nanoparticulate drug delivery system. Let us move and we'll discuss all these methods. So very first one, that is the rapid expansion of supercritical solution. So look at the figure. It's a very easy to understand. This is the chamber, okay, and here the carbon dioxide, then the polymer and core particle. The polymer, it is dissolved in the carbon dioxide, supercritical carbon dioxide, isn't it? And core particles are dispersed into it. Look at the chamber. It consists of the polymer, it is present in the dissolved state in the supercritical carbon dioxide, and core particles, it is in the dispersed state, isn't it? When this system, it is passed through the nozzle into the atmospheric air, there is a formation of a microcapsules, isn't it? In this way, the microcapsules or microparticles we will get by using the rapid expansion of a supercritical solution, that is a RESS. So the supercritical fluid containing the active ingredient and the shell material are maintained at high pressure, so in this chamber, then released at atmospheric pressure through a small nozzle. There is a sudden drop in the pressure causes the desolvation of the shell material, which is then deposited around the active ingredient, that is the core, and forms a coating layer. So this is about the rapid expansion of supercritical solution, that is a RESS method. So in the RESS method, supercritical fluid containing the active ingredient and the shell material are maintained at a high pressure and then released at atmospheric pressure through the nozzle. The sudden drop in the pressure causes the desolvation of the shell material, which is then deposited around the active ingredient, that is the core, and forms the coating layer, isn't it? And thereby we are getting the micro capsules. Okay, so this is about the rapid expansion of supercritical solution, that is a RESS. Now let us see the next method. Yes, so on this slide we are going to discuss the gas anti-solvent method. It is also known as supercritical fluid anti-solvent method, that is the SAS method. Look at the diagrammatical representation. In the first step, we have to suppose to prepare the solution of active ingredient and coating material in the organic solvent, right? So very first step is we have to suppose to prepare the solution of active ingredient and coating material in the suitable organic solvent. In the second step, we have to suppose to spray this solution into the chamber which contains supercritical carbon dioxide, isn't it? So by using the spray gun or the nozzle, this organic solution should be sprayed into the chamber which contains the supercritical carbon dioxide. So it forms the droplets or the mist. Look at the insert of this mist, which shows that the carbon dioxide, that is a supercritical carbon dioxide, acts as an anti-solvent to remove the organic solvent rapidly. As soon as this solution came into the contact with the supercritical carbon dioxide, it removes the organic solvent from the system and leading to the supersaturation and precipitation of microcapsule, and that's why it is known as supercritical fluid anti-solvent. Here the supercritical carbon dioxide is going to act as a anti-solvent for the polymer. The precipitated material or the powder or the microspheres get settled at the bottom, and organic solvent also it is possible to separate in the chamber, isn't it? In the fourth step, that is the separation of organic solvent, when there is a expansion occurs, expansion of the system, the carbon dioxide reverts to its gaseous phase and it removes the organic solvent. So here in the supercritical fluid anti-solvent method, there are 4 steps are there. Very first step, that is the preparation of the organic solution which contains the active ingredient and the polymer which is in a dissolved state. Then spray this system into the chamber which contains the supercritical carbon dioxide. So here the supercritical carbon dioxide is going to act as an anti-solvent for the polymer, and thereby there may be the precipitation of the microcapsules or the microparticle. When we are decreasing the pressure of the chamber, automatically the carbon dioxide gets converted into its gaseous phase, and along with that the organic solvents gets removed from the chamber. So theoretically it is known as the supercritical fluid anti-solvent method. So here the supercritical fluid is added to the solution of shell material and the active ingredient and maintained at a high pressure. So which is going to act as a anti-solvent. This leads to volume expansion of the solution and that causes supersaturation such that precipitation of solute occurs. Thus, the solute must be soluble in the liquid solvent but should not dissolve in the mixture of solvent and supercritical fluid, isn't it? So when we are exposing this dissolved system to the supercritical fluid, the mixture of organic solvent and supercritical fluid, it is going to act as a anti-solvent for the polymer, and thereby there is a formation of the microparticles or the microcapsules. So this is about the supercritical fluid anti-solvent method. Let us move towards the next method, that is known as the PGSS, that is the particles from gas saturated solution. Look at the diagrammatical representation. So here this is a chamber 1. Here the mixer is used to mix the polymer, then active medicament and the supercritical carbon dioxide. So supercritical carbon dioxide, it is dissolved and saturated in the molten solution of active ingredient and the coating material, isn't it? This process is carried out by mixing the core and shell material in the supercritical fluid at a high pressure. So here we are utilizing the polymeric material and the active medicament. It is mixed at high pressure. So during this process, the supercritical fluid penetrates into the shell material and causes the swelling, isn't it? When the mixture is heated above the glass transition temperature, the polymer gets liquefies. And furthermore, when we are releasing this pressure, when we are releasing the pressure due to the drop in the pressure, the shell material gets deposited onto the active medicament. Shell material, that is the polymer, isn't it? Because initially the polymer, it is present in the molten state, and when we are releasing the pressure, it gets solidified onto the particles, isn't it? So in this process, the core and shell material may not be soluble in the supercritical fluid. So upon releasing the pressure, the shell material is allowed to deposit on the active ingredient. So look at the figure. So very step 1, that is a supercritical carbon dioxide, is dissolved and saturated in a molten solution of active ingredient and coating material, isn't it? And with the system, it is maintained at a high pressure. In a second step, expansion occurs due to by releasing the pressure, carbon dioxide reverts to its gaseous phase and the temperature gets reduced, thereby the polymeric material gets deposited onto the active medicament or onto the particles. That is due to the Joule-Thomson effect, the temperature of mixture decreases drastically, causing the polymer solidification and hence forming the microcapsules or the microparticles. So this is about the particles from gas saturated solution or the PGSS. So in the PGSS method, it is carried out by mixing the core and shell material in a supercritical fluid at a high pressure. During this process, the supercritical fluid penetrates into the shell material and causing the swelling. When the mixture is heated, this mixture is heated above the glass transition temperature, the polymer gets liquefied. Upon releasing the pressure, the shell material is allowed to deposit onto the active medicament, and thereby there is a formation of microparticles or the microcapsules. So in this process, the core and shell material may not be soluble in the supercritical fluid. Simply here we are using the concept of temperature, which is responsible for the melting of the polymer. When the polymer and active medicament which is dispersed in the supercritical fluid, polymer gets melted. We have to suppose to mix whole system, then furthermore drop the pressure. Due to drop in the pressure, automatically the temperature gets reduced and polymer gets deposited onto the particles. So this is the principle by which it is possible to prepare the microcapsules or the microparticles by using the particles from gas saturated solution, that is a PGSS method. Let us move towards the next method, that is known as SFEE, supercritical fluid extraction of emulsion. So here we are using the emulsion concept. Initially we have to suppose to prepare O by W type of emulsion, that is oil in water. So first of all, in the first beaker, the organic phase is prepared by dissolving the coating material and active ingredient. So select the suitable organic solvent, then dissolve the coating material and active medicament into it. Then furthermore, emulsify it with the aqueous phase, which contains the surfactant, so as to we will get the O by W type of emulsion. So this is the first step, isn't it? In second step, we have to suppose to place this system into the supercritical fluid, so as to here supercritical fluid, it is going to extract the organic phase from the emulsion, and thereby we are getting the microcapsules or the microparticles, isn't it? Furthermore, along with by reducing the pressure, automatically the whatever the carbon dioxide is there along which is going to act as a, or which is going to separate the organic solvent from the emulsion system, and furthermore it is going to be collected and microparticles get separated. So initially prepare the O by W type of emulsion in the organic phase, which contains the active medicament and the coating material, which is in a dissolved state. Then furthermore, the system is exposed to the supercritical carbon dioxide. So supercritical carbon dioxide extracts the organic phase from the system, and thereby there is a formation of the microparticles or the microcapsules. That is in the fourth step, the coating material and active ingredient gets precipitated and forming a suspension of particles in the water. So furthermore, we have to suppose to filter this solution and collect the microparticles. So active ingredient and polymer, it is dissolved in an organic solvent, and the organic phase and the organic solution are then emulsified with the aqueous phase to form a O by W type of emulsion. Here the supercritical carbon dioxide is used to extract the organic solvent from the emulsion, leading to the supersaturation of active ingredient and polymer in the aqueous phase and resulting in the precipitation of active ingredient and the polymer. The precipitated microencapsulated product or the particles are subsequently collected from the aqueous phase. So this is about the SFEE method, that is a supercritical fluid extraction method. Let us move towards the next method, that is known as the supercritical spray drying. It is similar to the spray drying. Simply, we have to suppose to dissolve the active ingredient and coating material in the water, isn't it? In a second step, this aqueous solution sprayed together with a high excess of supercritical carbon dioxide into a high pressure chamber. So this is a chamber in which we have to suppose to initially it contains the supercritical carbon dioxide, and we have to suppose to spray the prepared solution into the chamber. See the insert. So here whatever formed droplet, automatically the supercritical carbon dioxide, it is going to act as a drying medium to remove the moisture from these fine droplets, leading to the precipitation and the drying of the microcapsules. So the precipitated powder were collected at the bottom of the chamber. When there is a expansion, the carbon dioxide reverts to its gaseous phase, and which removes the solvent, that is the water. So this is about the supercritical spray drying. It refers to the spraying of an aqueous solution into the excess of supercritical carbon dioxide. So here the supercritical carbon dioxide spray drying utilizes the increased solubility of carbon dioxide with water at a supercritical condition. The breakup of the aqueous solution into very tiny droplets with a high surface area to the volume ratio enhances the mass transfer of water into the supercritical carbon dioxide in the drying chamber, and therefore the water is removed continuously from the drying chamber, and we are getting the coated particle, and it is collected at the bottom, right? So this is about the spray drying by using the supercritical carbon dioxide method. So in the case of supercritical spray drying, initially we have to suppose to prepare the solution of active ingredient and coating material in the water, then spray the system by using the nozzle into the supercritical carbon dioxide which is present in the chamber. That is, the aqueous solution is sprayed together with a high excess of supercritical carbon dioxide at a high pressure in the chamber. So automatically the supercritical carbon dioxide, it is going to act as a drying medium to remove the moisture from the droplets, leading to the precipitation and drying of the microparticles. So microparticles gets settled at the bottom, and so due to the expansion of the carbon dioxide into its gaseous phase, automatically which removes the solvent. So this is about the supercritical spray drying. Let us see the next method, that is known as the interfacial polymerization. Here we are utilizing the concept of polymerization to prepare the microcapsules. Look at the figure. Here we are using the two monomers, or say the two reactants. Say for example A, that is a one monomer, B, that is a another monomer. We have to suppose to prepare the emulsion core material. This is a B, which is a dissolved in the core solution, and the A, it is dissolved in the continuous phase, isn't it? So monomers dissolved in the aqueous and the organic phases. So B, this is the organic phase. A, that is a continuous phase. So in the continuous phase, the monomer A, it is dissolved, and in the dispersed phase, the monomer B, it is dissolved. Furthermore, we have to suppose to prepare the emulsion, then initiate the polymerization. So automatically the A gets reacted with a B, and thereby there is a formation of A due to the polymerization, or polymerization occurs at the liquid-liquid interface, and thereby there is a formation of the continuous film at the liquid-liquid interface. That is a polycondensation and formation of primary membrane. Furthermore, which is continued, and polycondensation and microcapsules we will get. So this is about the interfacial polymerization. That is a polymerization reaction that occurs at or near the interfacial boundary of the two immiscible solution, and that's why it is known as the interfacial polymerization method. There are 4 steps are there. That is the, look at the another figure. So in the step 1, prepare the dispersed phase containing the liquid to be encapsulated and add it to the continuous phase to get the emulsion using the emulsifier. In the step 2, pour the additional continuous phase which contains the second monomer. Okay, then in the third step, initiate the polycondensation by the pH or temperature change, or by adding the catalyst. The polymer formed gets deposited around these drops, which leads to the encapsulation. And finally, stabilize the formed microcapsules, isolate it, wash it, and dry it. Okay, so this is about the interfacial polymerization. So in the interfacial polymerization, we are getting the particle size ranging between 3 to 2000 micrometer. Generally, here we are using the 2 reactants or the 2 monomers. Monomer 1, it is dissolved in the continuous phase. Another monomer, it is dissolved in the organic phase. Then we have to suppose to prepare the O by W type of emulsion. Furthermore, initiate the polymerization by changing the pH, by changing the temperature, or by addition of the catalyst. So automatically there is the polycondensation, and the formed polymer gets deposited around the drops, and which leads to the encapsulation of the droplet or encapsulation of the core, isn't it? Furthermore, we have to suppose to stabilize the system, stabilize the polymer, and isolate the microcapsules, wash it, and dry it, isn't it? So this is about the interfacial polymerization. Let us move towards the next method, that is known as the in situ polymerization. So in the case of interfacial polymerization, we are using the 2 monomers. The monomer 1, it is dissolved in the continuous phase, and monomer 2, it is dissolved in the organic phase, isn't it? In the case of O by W type of emulsion. But in the case of in situ polymerization, here in this process, the no monomer is added to the core material. Here we are not adding any monomer to the core solution, isn't it? Polymerization occurs exclusively in the continuous phase and deposited onto the globules. So whatever the monomer is there, it is dissolved in the continuous phase. So initially prepare the core phase, prepare the continuous phase, mix to get the emulsion. Furthermore, in a second step, add the monomer A and monomer B, which is dissolved in the continuous phase. Initiate the polymerization. Then after initialization, the polymer gets deposited at liquid-liquid interface. Furthermore, we have to suppose to stabilize the formed microcapsules, then isolate it, wash it, and dry it. So initially, a low molecular weight pre-polymer will be formed. As time goes on, the pre-polymer grows in size and it deposits on the surface of dispersed core material, thereby generating a solid capsule shell. So it is possible to coat the solids also by using the in situ polymerization technique. So in this process, no monomer is added to the core material. Polymerization occurs exclusively in the continuous phase and deposited onto globules. Initially, a low molecular weight pre-polymer will be formed. As the time goes on, the pre-polymer grows in a size. It deposits on the surface of the dispersed core material, thereby generating a solid capsule shell. So look at the figure. Steps are there. In the step 1, dispersion of a liquid to be encapsulated in the water. Step 2, introduction of the monomers A and B into the solution. Then step 3, that is the initiation of polymerization process by changing the pH, by changing the temperature, or by addition of the catalyst. And in the step 4, there is a stabilization of polymer structure. And finally, wash the microcapsules, then dry it. Okay, so this is about the in situ polymerization. Generally, we are getting the particle size ranging between 1 to 1000 micrometer when we are using the in situ polymerization. Let us see the factors to be considered for selection of the appropriate technology or the appropriate method. Now we have discussed all the methods which are used to prepare the micro encapsulated product, but there are the certain factors are there which needs to be considered while selecting the suitable method for the preparation of micro encapsulated product. These factors are like active compound or core material, then the encapsulation process, then the wall material or the shell formulation, then the cost constraints, economic feasibility, that is the large scale production. So first of all, the active compounds or the core material. So here we have to suppose to consider the physicochemical properties of the active medicament. We have to suppose to consider its physical state and the size, and which will decide the size of the microparticle and the optimum concentration in the microparticles. In the case of encapsulation process, we have to suppose to consider the stability of core material during the process. We have to suppose to consider the encapsulation efficiency. That is again one of the important factor. If we are getting the low encapsulation efficiency, it is not possible to use the specific method for the preparation of the microparticles or the microcapsules. Then the microcapsule morphology, particle size, and its distribution. That is one of the parameters need to be considered. Then the wall material or shell formulation, we have to suppose to consider the immobilization, protection, functionalization, then how it is going to affect the release of the drug from the wall material, then the stabilizing and the barrier properties which are related with the oxygen, then the hydrogen, then the pH, then mechanical and so on. Then the regulatory aspects like a material grade, daily uptake, then the compatibility with the core material and the release mechanism. Furthermore, there is a need to consider the cost and the economy, whether whatever the methodology which is selected, it is feasible as well as whether it is economical or not. So the factors to consider for selecting the appropriate technology, that is we have to suppose to consider the active compound or the core material, its physicochemical properties and all those things. Then the encapsulation process which is used, the main parameter, that is the encapsulation efficiency, then the particle size, morphology and distribution, then the stability of core material during the process. In the case of wall material or shell formulation, we have to suppose to consider the immobilization, protection or formulation, for what purpose it is used, whether it is having a stabilizing properties or not against the oxygen or hydrogen or change in pH or the mechanical strength and so on. Then we have to suppose to consider the regulatory aspects while selecting the coating material related to the material grade, then the daily intake or uptake, then the compatibility of wall material with the core material, and how the drug it is going to be released from the specific polymer. Furthermore, there is a need to consider the factors like cost constraints and the economic feasibility of a large scale production. So these are the factors, 3 factors needs to be considered while selecting the suitable technology or suitable method for preparation of micro encapsulated products.